I got my tea. Little Garfield mug. I don't do perky. And on this side, saying sorry for what I said before I had my coffee. And it's covering Mary Skelly back there. She helped me with my Valentine's Day album. That's why she has a heart guitar and an EXO pillow. Anyway, okay, so I wasn't planning on recording myself doing this originally, like filming it. I was just gonna record the audio, and I should get a different chair because this one's squeaky. Sorry. And I had to take my piano off my desk to set up all this stuff that I'm using for this. So sorry if that's distracting. There's a candle behind it. It's not on fire. It's fine. So let me know if you start to see something catch on fire, just yell. So I wanted to start off by reading a little bit from Cosmos and Psyche. It's from The Two Suitors, a parable. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe. But for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology. I keep getting just tongue-tied on this sentence. And it's probably going to be like that for a lot of it. So forgive me. I'm just going to muscle through it because I'm trying to start over and make it right every time, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Two Suitors, a parable. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology, but rather a deep-souled, subtly mysterious cosmos of great spiritual beauty and creative intelligence. And imagine that you are being approached by two different epistemologies, two suitors, as it were, who seek to know you. To whom would you open your deepest secrets? To which approach would you be most likely to reveal your authentic nature? Would you open most deeply to the suitor, the epistemology, the way of knowing, who approached you as though you were essentially lacking in intelligence or purpose, as though you had no interior dimension to speak of, no spiritual capacity or value, who thus saw you as fundamentally inferior to himself? Let us give the two suitors not entirely arbitrarily the traditional masculine gender, who related to you as though your existence were valuable primarily to the extent that he could develop and exploit your resources to satisfy his various needs, and whose motivation for knowing you was ultimately driven by a desire for increased intellectual mastery, predictive certainty, and efficient control over you for his own self-enhancement? Or would you, the cosmos, open yourself most deeply to that suitor who viewed you as being at least as intelligent and noble, as worthy of being, as permeated with mind and soul, as imbued with moral aspiration and purpose, as endowed with spiritual depth and mystery as he? The suitor who seeks to know you, not that he might better exploit you, but rather to unite with you, and thereby bring forth something new, a creative synthesis emerging from both your depths. He desires to liberate that which has been hidden by the separation between knower and unknown. The separation between knower and known. His ultimate goal of knowledge is not increased mastery, prediction, and control, but rather a more richly responsive and empowered participation in a co-creative unfolding of new realities. He seeks an intellectual fulfillment that is intimately linked with imaginative vision, moral transformation, empathetic understanding, aesthetic delight. His act of knowledge is essentially an act of love and intelligence combined, of wonder as well as discernment. He seeks an intellectual fulfillment that is intimately linked with imaginative vision, moral transformation, empathetic understanding, aesthetic delight. His act of knowledge is essentially an act of love and intelligence combined, of wonder as well as discernment, of opening to a process of mutual discovery. To whom would you be more likely to reveal your deepest truths? So, think on that for a second, you little skeptics. Just kidding. You can believe whatever you want. I think it's fun. So here we go. This is my diary entry from February 28th, 2021. 5:32 p.m. and I was in Santa Clarita, California, on Turtle Island, what we know as the United States today. I'm trying very hard to stay positive, and it's getting so hard. Things are so bad, and there's nothing I can do to fix anything. And I feel so alone, and every time I try to figure out, like, why I feel bad, and it's everything. Every reason I have spirals out into more, and I feel like there's no way to solve any of the problems. Like, I hate that my housemates throw parties, and I can't move out. It was the middle of COVID. Like, not the middle, it's not over yet, but, like, yeah, 1 year into COVID, basically. My housemates throw parties, and I can't move out because I can't afford to, because they won't promote me at work. But now they promoted me. I might not get that many shifts. I've only had 2 so far because they don't trust me because of my attitude problem. But I don't think they understand the reason I'm upset. The reasons I'm upset are that I'm doing so much work and not really getting paid for it. And all the people who do less work get promoted before me because they have better attitudes, which makes me more mad because it's so frustrating that I can't tell them these things. And then I get upset. I get more upset to the point that I can't even talk to anybody. And then they're like, that just proves our point. And I'm like, first of all, it shouldn't have been an issue. I should have been promoted 2 fucking years ago when they promised, but then when they promised, but then hired like 15 other people instead. And none of them even know what they have. None of them even knew what they were doing for a while. And it made my job so much harder, hence more frustration and more attitude. And now I'm finally a server, and I don't believe in myself, not to mention it's way harder now with outside dining being so much further of a walk to and from the kitchen, and for some reason they decided we don't need food runners, and sometimes they don't have a host either, so it sucks on that side. Plus, when I'm on in to go, I have to help food run, which means I have less time to do the stuff that I actually get tipped on, assuming they aren't DoorDash orders because I don't get tipped on those. And on, I feel like I have so many negative emotions that they don't all fit in my body. And I might just explode, and I want to scream, but I don't want anyone to hear me, and I need a way to get this all out. I might just play Super Smash Bros. Until I cry myself to sleep. So that was the last entry before I discovered astrology and started looking at my chart. And I guess I'll read the next entry and then look at both of the charts, and I'll probably show my birth chart as well. Anyway, March 9th, 2021. Ironically, this one, when I start talking about getting into astrology, I didn't timestamp it. I have timestamps on most of my entries, but for some reason, not this one. So we'll just get to look at the houses. I mean, we won't get to look at the houses, but I can still look at the planets. Anyway, let me get a sip of tea. Oh yeah, it's a color change mug. You didn't know? Anyway. March 9th, 2021. I feel like I should hold it, otherwise I just am looking down, and it's kind of off-putting probably to view as a watcher. March 9th, 2021. I had a day off last week and decided to get really into astrology, so I've been reading about it practically nonstop, and it's all I think about. Now I'm having so much fun, and a lot of things in my life that I've been really frustrated by are spelled out right in my chart. So it's really been eye-opening for me, and it's really helping me think about the places of my life where I can grow and how to go about it. And I've honestly read so much about parts of the chart. It's always showing something new, and it's fascinating. There's so much to learn, and I know a lot of people who already like it, who I can talk to about it with. I was really excited. I know a lot of people who already like it, who I can talk to about it with, and it's making me feel a lot less insecure, and I think I'm more able to forgive myself for having a hard time understanding and controlling my emotions, because before I felt like, okay, everyone else can handle this except me. What's wrong with me? But now I'm like nicer to myself because my moon in the 4th house in Gemini is a lot. And another thing I used to think about a lot when I was, okay, I'm going to do that again. But now I'm like nicer to myself because my moon in the 4th house in Gemini is like a lot. I didn't say like there. But now I'm like nicer to myself because my moon in the 4th house in Gemini is a lot. Another thing, my moon in the 4th house in Gemini is a lot. And another thing I used to think about a lot was when I liked something someone else did, I would copy them. And a lot of my friends would be weird about it and like, why are you copying me? But my chart shows that I learn a lot about myself and who I am through my relationships with other people, so I became afraid to copy people and haven't gotten as many chances to learn about myself. And my chart shows that I'm too critical of myself. And Pluto is the dominant force in my chart. There was a website that I found that told you put in your chart information and it tells you like the dominant planets in your chart. So I got Pluto was number 1 and Uranus was second. I don't remember the website that I found that with though, sorry. And Pluto is the dominant force in my chart, followed by Uranus, and they're both planets of transformation, so that's going to be a big theme for me. And I feel like I'm currently going through a big transformation, which also makes sense because of the Saturn return, which happens when someone is around 27, and I'm 26 and a half, so it's about time. Anyway, I'm really excited, and I still have a lot to learn, but I already feel like a lot better about everything, although Yellow said he still thinks it's creepy and didn't tell me his birth time, so that was kind of sad, but it's also probably good that I don't make up some idea of him in my head, and I should let him tell me who he is, but we can't spend that much time together right now, so there's not a lot of time to talk. But I know he cares about me, and that's really all that matters in the end, so I don't mind being patient. I'm just curious, which makes sense. As I said, Pluto's the dominant force in my chart. So that was... what a transition from being like, I hate everything sucks, every reason I have to be upset spirals out into 10 more reasons, to being like, oh my god, I found astrology and I love it and I'm so happy and everything makes sense. So I love that for me. Let's see. I don't know how to do this. I guess I could look at the charts on my iPad or something. My iPad has a big crack in it. I accidentally stepped on it. It was closed, like this was, oops. And I had a slipper on and I was just like I saw it and I could have avoided it, but I didn't think it would be a big deal, and then it was, and I'm like, wow, what a dork. I should have just, whatever. Okay, not totally sure this is gonna work. It seems fine. So I've got my diary, got the chart. The app isn't designed for the iPad, I guess, sorry. About that noise too. So I'll figure out a way, and I have the hiccups. I'll figure out a way to show the chart somehow. Yeah, so I'll show my chart. One thing that maybe I should just do this later. Yeah, I was thinking as I was reading it when I was like, ooh. I was thinking as I was reading this first entry, that it sounded a lot like Jupiter in Scorpio. I'm trying hard to stay positive, and it's getting so hard. Yeah, I'm just gonna do this later when I don't have the hiccups, actually. Okay, hello. Hi, so... ooh, that sounds really weird. Hello. I sound like a... That's what it sounds like. Hold on. Okay, so I figured out how to stop that somehow. Well, I didn't figure it out. I just clicked on... there was something red and I clicked it and then a bunch of stuff changed. I don't know. I need to work with this program some more and figure out how to use it, but we're having fun while we learn. Sorry, this chair is like squeaky. Anyway, this mic is like really sensitive and it's picking up all the like little squeaks, and every time I tap my desk, if I like put my notebook down, pick up my, even if I touch my iPad and like change, anyway, it's picking up everything. So can I lower this? No. Okay, so we're just gonna try to sit as still as possible. So as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by my own hiccups. yeah, basically from the start of this first entry, I'm trying very hard to stay positive, and it's getting so hard. Things are so bad. There's nothing I can do to fix anything. I'm so alone, blah, blah, blah. That's very just Jupiter and Scorpio, you know? But I don't want to get too much into my chart. I wanted to talk about the chart of like the actual entry. So, yeah, so this first one, February 28th, 2021, 5:32 p.m., if you want to look it up. Here's what it looks like. Anyway, if I I know how to do that. Okay. Oh, there's the phone ringing in the other room. Hello. Yeah, so this chart excuse me. I was gonna say for like the podcast listeners, I'll explain it. I'm not gonna make this a podcast, but for anyone who, for whatever reason, can't see the chart, it's a Virgo rising chart. We've got Mercury, the ruler of the chart, in, sorry. Okay, so Mercury is in Pisces, conjunct the sun, conjunct the descendant, and Neptune is there as well in Pisces. It's not as closely conjunct. And then, so we'll do the moon. The moon is in Libra in the second house. All the other stuff was the seventh house, using whole sign houses. Oh, this is actually not in whole sign houses. What? I've never used this app on my iPad before. I usually use it on my phone, and I like made a different account with different settings. But anyway, yeah, in the seventh house, moon and Libra in the second. The 10th house is Gemini, so Mercury in Pisces rules the 10th house too, so that makes sense. Because Virgo is very analytical. Well, okay, I'm just talking about like astrology at that point. I'm like, but I'm choosing to do the astrology now and choosing this point to start, but it's kind of arbitrary. Like this entry has nothing to do with astrology yet, but I'm analyzing things in my life. Yeah, Mercury, the ruler of the ascendant and the midheaven, is in detriment, or yeah, detriment in Pisces. There's a lot of words that they start with the same letter, and then I get them mixed up. Yeah, so I'm gonna continue just explaining the chart a little bit more. So yeah, Mercury in Pisces rules the 1st and 10th house, moon in 2nd house. We've got Aquarius, the 6th house with Saturn, Mercury, no. Okay, so I was right earlier. I'm gonna start over. Okay. So it's Mercury ruled, because it's a Virgo rising chart, but Mercury is actually in Aquarius conjunct Jupiter. And earlier I was looking at the chart and I was like, oh, Venus is in Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces. That's great. And then now when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, that's actually Mercury. And Mercury's in detriment in Pisces. And I was like, ooh, that's not as great. So I was right the first time though. So Mercury is in Aquarius conjunct Jupiter, which are both peregrine there. And Saturn is also in Aquarius. Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius. Saturn also rules Capricorn, where Pluto is. We've got the IC and the that's the South Node in Sagittarius. So North Node in Gemini. Mars is in Taurus in detriment. That's Uranus. Yeah. Uranus is in Taurus as well. Uranus is still in Taurus. That makes sense because Taurus is my 4th house and I've been moving a lot, like, even before this date, so, yeah. That checks out. Anyway, what else can I say about this chart? So Venus, conjunct the descendant, conjunct the sun. I was having an, Neptune in Pisces as well. I was kind of talking to this guy, and, well, we'll see how that plays out, but, yeah, there was a lot of delusion, there was a lot of, like, like, we couldn't spend that much time together, and it was a lot of me just, like, making stuff up about it in my head, and just, like, I had this whole fantasy of, like, oh, like, if we went out on a date, what would that be like? And, like, I was picturing, like, our wedding and stuff, even though we hadn't really hung out that much. And I was trying to spend more time with him, but it was just, like, I kept feeling restricted. I kept feeling like there was a block, like, one of us had to work or something. And then there was, like, this one day, it was the diary entry before this. I talk about it. I don't really want to get into it, but there was, like, one day we were supposed to hang out, and then I got asked to cover a shift, like, kind of last minute by somebody who, like, never asks anyone to cover their shifts. And so I was like, she must really need it, like, I'll go. And then I tried to get somebody else to cover it before it actually started, and I, like, didn't get any responses, and it ended up being just a really terrible shift where I felt like I was doing all the work and, like, everyone else was kind of just standing around. And so I was, like, even more upset because I was like, this is the one time I was supposed to hang out with this guy that I've been trying to, like, spend more time with, and then I had to work instead, and it was a terrible shift, and it just, everything sucks. And so that's, yeah, I was having some, like, delusional fantasies about love and stuff, and that was kind of, like, really, like, what I was upset about, like, because I'd been at the same job for a long time. That's, yeah, the 10th house connection. I'd been promised a promotion for, like, 2 years, as I said. It's like, this should have never fucking happened. I should have been promoted 2 years ago. So, oh, I started flipping. There we go. Yeah. So that makes sense, the first house, 10th house connection, and, like, 7th house. And then I don't really know how much y'all are interested in hearing me say, so I'm gonna move on to the next one. Nothing else is really, like, coming to me. And I'm just hearing the chair squeak, so, hopefully, sometimes I'll watch a YouTube video and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, my gardener, or, like, the neighbor's gardener just started, or whatever, and it's like, I didn't hear anything. So I'm hoping that's how this plays out. Anyway, so yeah, the next entry, March 9th, 2021, again, I don't have a time for this one, so I'm just using, the 12 p.m. time. I honestly, I don't remember what time it would have been. Like, when I first started reading about astrology, 8:28 on the timer, that's my birthday. Anyway, August 28th, 1994, 6:40 p.m., Woodland Hills, California, if you want to look up the chart. Anyway, it's like 2055 Aquarius rising. Anyway, yeah, I was just, like, up all night reading. I would read an article on my phone about, like, what it means to have the sun in the 9th house or whatever. Even though I didn't have the sun in the 9th house, but I went through and read what it was like to have it in all of them, just to learn. And then I started listening to the astrology podcast, and he's kind of repetitive sometimes because he's, like, always aware any episode could be somebody's, like, first episode, and so he explains pretty basic concepts over, not, like, basic, but, like, he explains the same things over and over, kind of, while I was watching, like, episode after episode. So once I felt like, okay, I kind of know what he's talking about now, I would go back to reading an article about something else on my phone, or sometimes they would mention something I hadn't heard of yet, like they'd mention secondary progressions, and, like, just kind of casually, or annual perfections was one. I was like, they just kind of mentioned it and then moved on, and I was like, what's annual perfections? And so I was, like, reading about that while they were talking about, like, something else, and then once I would hear something that piqued my interest again, so I was, like, going back and forth. I was staying up all night. I was obsessed. So yeah, I didn't put a time though. So the moon, according to the 12 p.m. time, squeak squeak squeak, it's, like, around where Saturn is in Aquarius. So it could have potentially been conjunct Pluto in the late degrees of Capricorn, but the moon is, and it's Cancer rising, so the moon is the ruler of the chart. Anyway, so I was like, why am I going so much into the moon already? Anyway, it matters. So the moon's probably somewhere between Pluto and Saturn. It might have passed Saturn if it was later in the day, and gone, like, past, probably, I don't know how long that would be. I don't know how fast the moon moves, but it might have passed Saturn and been approaching Jupiter. But anyway,
I think this chart was really interesting. I mean, again, this is the 12 p.m. chart. So it's just, so the moon, I guess the rising sign doesn't necessarily matter, but when I looked at this chart, I thought it was really interesting, even though the time might be wrong. And oh my gosh, what is going on? I don't know if this is meant to be, y'all. Okay. Yeah, when I first looked at this chart, even though the time is wrong, I thought it was really interesting that the midheaven was so close to the sun conjunct Venus, and Venus and the sun are way closer. Like, all four are really close together. And in the last chart, the sun and Venus, and it was the descendant, not the midheaven, were like really early degrees of Pisces, and the Neptune at the end, and now they're all really close together. And this is like me analyzing like myself and my relationships and like spirituality, and then it happens to be, I mean, I'm like putting it online, so the midheaven makes sense there. So maybe I'm like rectifying the chart. Maybe it was exactly noon. Who knows? That's why I just like knew I would know. I just saw 222 on the time. Oh my gosh, magic. Anyway, so yeah, what was I talking about in this? I read it, it's been a few days since I read them now because I had the hiccups, and then I was like really depressed yesterday and didn't want to do anything. So now we're doing this. So yeah, I was just talking about how, and that's like maybe the ninth house? That would be the ninth, 12, 11, 10, 9. Yeah, the ninth whole sign house. I think it's the 10th Placidus. It's okay. Like, it's so hard to tell. I'm looking at the chart wrong. And I talk about my Saturn return. The moon is like conjunct Saturn. So that makes sense. And I talk about that guy again. This is when I talk about like how I wish that we had more time together, and I want to get to know him better. And I wanted to look at his birth chart. I asked him if I could look up his birth chart. I think I asked like, what time were you born? And he said, no, I think it's creepy or something. And I was like, why do you think it's creepy? And then he just like didn't answer. So I was like, okay. I thought he was just like busy, and now like looking back, I'm like, I feel like that was like a sign. But we don't need to get too far ahead of ourselves yet. You can tune in next time to find out what happens with that guy. Unless you've listened to my music, then you already know. Because I already talk about when he called me creepy. Anyway, not me. He didn't say I was creepy. He said astrology. Or like the fact that, I don't know. He brought up astrology to me first, though. He mentioned like, oh, my birthday is August, whatever. I'm a Virgo, and I was like, I'm a Virgo too. I'm August 28th. And it's like, oh my gosh. And so I thought like, we've already talked about astrology. Now I can ask for his birth time, and get like his whole chart and kind of like get a better understanding of like what's going on, maybe why we don't have that much time to spend together, and like maybe look at the synastry and see that, see if there's like a time limit on like when he'll be able to spend more time with me and stuff. Like, I was just curious, and then he's like, no, it's creepy. So yeah, let's see, I don't know what planet would be creepy. Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm gonna do for now, because I'm kind of, I don't really have anything else to say, and the chair's squeaking, and I'm just, I'm still not sure like what I want to do with this whole video thing, but I'll probably come on like maybe every other week, every week, every other week, bi-weekly, twice a week. Who knows, bi-monthly, every other month, and read an entry or two or three. It depends how long they are. It depends. Sometimes like nothing really changes between the chart for like a couple of days. So, but, like, besides the moon, everything else is going to take longer to change signs and stuff. So I might just lump a bunch together and kind of analyze them, like, the whole. But yeah, I just want to put something out there. And I like that it's like, it makes sense. Like, this is like the anniversary kind of when I discovered astrology and but I'm right in between when I wrote these entries. So I just think that's neat. Anyway, let me know what you think, if you want like more astrology like background information when I talk about it, or if you're like, no, I already, like, I'm assuming people, like, I don't know if most people know about astrology before they click on it, but there's so many resources out there that I don't feel like I need to go out there and be like, this is what Mars means, this is what Cancer is. So like, I feel like if you don't know that, you can find lots of resources that will tell you. And yeah, sorry. What am I apologizing? No one said anything. Anyway, I'm glad that I'm doing this. Is so Saturn return of me. I'm so, like, this is literally what I imagined I would be doing for my Saturn return, was like going through my journals and like analyzing them. So, and now I like wrote music and put it out, and now it exists in the world, and I'm just like so proud of myself and how far I've come since I wrote this about how everything sucks. So yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching this and listening to me ramble. All right, see you next time. Pretend I didn't just drop that. Let's slam this so it makes the loudest noise ever on the mic. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Okay, bye. Okay. Hello. What's going on? Every time I start recording, I sound super weird. Hello? Did that fix it? Uh-oh. I don't know what I did to make it do this. It doesn't sound like this. Uh-oh. I should have just done it with the hiccups. I'm sorry, everyone. Goodbye. This is it. This is the last you'll hear from me.
Sorry, there's a lot of wires. I feel like this mic is really sensitive. Like, if I just tap the desk that it's on, it's... I don't know. And I can hear, like, things happening in other rooms through the headphones. So sorry if that's distracting. Anyway, I'm gonna start reading. This is, as I said, Cosmos and Psyche, Imitations of a New Worldview by Richard Tarnas. I thought this was really interesting when I first read it. So I haven't reread it yet, so maybe I'm gonna read it and then hate it now and be like, this is stupid, but let's see. We'll find out together. I'm just kidding. Richard Tarnas, you're great. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe. I'm not gonna read it in that voice the whole time. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purpose of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology. Sorry, I got my tea. Little Garfield mug. I don't do perky. And on this side, saying sorry for what I said before I had my coffee. And it's covering Mary Skelly back there. She helped me with my Valentine's Day album. That's why she has a heart guitar and an exo pillow. Anyway, Two Suitors, a Parable. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purposes of this thought experiment, let me just see. Hold on. I haven't experimented that much with this mic. I don't know how to do it. We're gonna be learning a lot together. Thank you for going on this journey with me. ASMR. Juli, ASMR, or astrology. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology, but rather a deep-souled, subtly mysterious cosmos of great spiritual beauty and creative intelligence. And imagine that you are being approached by two different epistemologies. I'm gonna start over. I love starting over from the top. But for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you. I feel like I should be holding it up like this. Or. Okay. Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas. Two Suitors, a Parable. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology, but rather a deep-souled, subtly mysterious cosmos of great spiritual beauty. What's going on with my voice? Okay. Two Suitors, a Parable. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology. I heard a thump when my toe hit the desk, and I could hear it. Okay. But for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted. I'm never going to get through this at this rate. The whole book is like, it's so, yeah, it's dense. I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe, but for the purposes of this thought experiment, let us imagine that you are not the disenchanted, mechanistic universe of conventional modern cosmology, but rather a deep soul, subtly mysterious cosmos, great spiritual beauty, and creative intelligence. Man, I'm not a fan of reading things out loud. I don't know why I'm doing this. I hated, like, when we'd be in English class and the teacher was like, okay, we're just gonna go around and read, each student's gonna read, like, a paragraph. It was, like, Heart of Darkness, and there are long paragraphs, and they're, like, just, oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. I'm like, this is so embarrassing. I just, you know what it is? I think, I keep thinking back to this one time in, like, elementary school. They used to have us do these, like, speed read things. Like, one student would go outside with, like, the room mom, and she'd, like, have us read as much as we could from a paper in a minute, and she'd time us and, like, mark down everything that we did wrong. So, like, when I'm reading out loud, like, I guess I just internalized, like, my goal should be to read as fast as possible. So I'm just like, and then anytime I make a mistake, I'm like, shit, I fucked up. I've ruined everything. Like, it's, school sucks. School is a scam. Don't go to school. Don't send your kids to school. PragerU isn't good either. Don't have kids. The world is dying. What am I talking about? Do whatever you want. Maybe your kids will be the ones that save the world, so have as many kids as you want. Don't listen to me. I'm cynical. Two Suitors, a Parable. Speaking of being cynical, the point of this freaking video, I'm 7 minutes, 45 seconds in. I still haven't gotten past, like, the second sentence. drinking my tea. Give me a chance to warm up, lady. Lady is me. Howdy, folks. Imagine for a moment that you are the universe. There's actually a book called You Are the Universe that I want to read from too, if I still have it. Oh no, I don't know if I do. But I can find it again. Okay. For real this time, I'm probably just gonna put all of this as bloopers at the end of the video. 8:28, that's my birthday. Okay, that's the time on the video. And now, for real this time, 2 suitors. Look at my cute little moon phase earrings. Okay, I'm so difficult to work with. Just read the fucking... Okay, sorry Mary Skelly, you're distracting me. You gotta go. I'm just kidding, she was fine. Okay, no, but for real, I'm gonna read it normally. Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas. Sorry. This is so weird. I've never done this before. I mean, I've made YouTube videos, but like I said in the intro, I've only done like music covers and original songs too, but it's like the same kind of thing. This is a different kind of thing. This is different. There's so many wires and stuff. Like I've never used a mic for a video before, I guess, and that's new. Hello. But isn't she cute? She's like blue. She's got little blue legs. Love her. J-Lab, in case anyone's wondering. My old roommate and I got these at like Best Buy one day. We decided to we're like, we're gonna make a podcast, but we sat down and like did it and we had the conversation, and then she edited it, and I love saying edited it. She edited it, and she kept in like everything I said, and then like anything that she said, she was like, I don't want to leave that in there. I'm like embarrassed by it. I'm gonna take it out. And I just felt like there wasn't like an equal, like I felt like she was kind of using me as like, oh, you can dump all your pain and trauma or whatever. We weren't talking about anything that serious, but it was like, I don't know, not necessarily, I didn't word that right, but I just felt like it wasn't fair. Like she was like I was being more vulnerable, putting myself out there, and she was like taking back everything that she said, and I was like, I just don't think I want to do this with her anymore. But and also it felt like there were too many people that like knew us and would like just, yeah, I don't know. I was like, there's a lot of drama going on and people were, but it's like if I talk about my life, like, and then anyone listens, they're gonna know. And then now I'm reading my diaries for so we've come a long way. That was the original intention of this microphone. So that was a few years ago now, so sometimes things just take time. Anyway, that's what we learn in astrology, the study of time. So yeah, I'll be honest. I was not into astrology. Like, I'd read the horoscopes and magazines. I'm a Virgo, and I was like, what's a Virgo? And the like stereotypes about Virgo are like they're always very clean and organized, and like I don't know if you can see, I have a lot of stuff going on. Not like super like neat and detailed, and everything is like in its place all the time. So I was like, I don't know, that doesn't really make sense. And then I learned about like moon signs, and I'm like, that kind of sounds like you told me I'm a Virgo, and I said that doesn't make sense, and you're like, okay, so I'm gonna make up something else to make it make sense. And then that's how I felt when I didn't know anything about the houses. I just heard people saying things like something in the fifth house. And I'm like, that just sounds even more like you're just making stuff up because I said it doesn't, like, I don't feel like a Virgo. And now it's just like, you're, whatever. It's just like confirmation bias, like people say. And then I went to UC Davis. I was wearing this sweatshirt. I almost went like, UC Davis, this is an astrology themed little thingy. Free Palestine. Yeah, I went to UC Davis and I took an astronomy class. And the professor literally had like a lecture one day about how astrology is pseudoscience. And so like I took that. I'm like, he's a college professor, like he knows, I'm like, okay. Like it kind of felt validating to have him just like disprove astrology. And then like a lot of my friends liked it, and I was like, I kind of felt like high and mighty, like, oh, I know that it's fake and they don't. And like I kind of felt like above them for like being able to see through like to the truth of like that doesn't make sense. But then one of my friends had tweeted a couple times about the Saturn return, and like I didn't know what it meant, so I googled it and I was like, oh, astrology. But I learned like it's something that happens when you're around 27. And then she tweeted about it again, and so I googled it again. I was like, is that the astrology thing? Because I was like, she said, I don't see the point of like getting married until your Saturn return. And I'm like, if you love someone, like, what? That's silly. Is that the astrology thing? Like, whatever. And so it was like fresh in my mind. And then when I was about 26, I was going through some like difficult stuff, like not getting promoted at work, and like relationships just like didn't seem to be working out for me. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, let me look into the Saturn return thing, because maybe there's something there. And it turned out my Saturn return hadn't started yet, but I did have I'm an Aquarius rising, so Saturn was going through Aquarius, so Saturn's in my first house at that point. And so I'm like, okay, that still makes sense. And yeah, I started like just looking more into it, and it makes more and more sense the more I look into it. And I hear people say things about religion, like I see God working in my life every day, and I'm like, I see astrology like truly like present in everything. Like so yeah, I got really interested in it, and I wanted to go through my, sorry about that noise, super sensitive. Anyway, I just hit myself. Love that. Anyway, I want to go through my journals and kind of look at the astrology of what was going on. Just because I wasn't into astrology until I was, like I said, 26 was when I started taking it seriously. So I want to look back and see like what I didn't see when I wasn't paying attention. So yeah, and I really liked what Richard Tarnas says in Cosmos and Psyche about the two suitors, a parable, which I want to read before I start getting into the journals, just because in case anyone's like skeptical, I guess, but I don't really think anyone would click on a video about that astrology if they're that skeptical. Anyway, I don't know why people do things they do. So I'll just read this now. Two suitors, a parable.